Hi everyone, my name is Rina. I'm a professional illustrator and today I have a new tablet review for all of you. In this video I'm going to show you the Gaomon PD1220 and tell you all about my experience using this display. If you've been on the hunt for a new drawing device, stay with me, because you might want to consider this one as your next purchase. A little disclaimer before we get started: Gaomon did send me this product for free, which I'm very thankful for, but they did not pay me anything to make this video, so my opinions will be 100% honest. The Gaomon PD1220 is a pen display, or in other words, it's only a screen/monitor. It doesn't have an operating system on its own like iPads or Android tablets. It always needs to be connected to something in order to be powered up, such as a computer or a smartphone. For the sake of making this review shorter and more focused on my own experience with it, I won't be talking about all the technical specifications, since you can already check those on Gaomon's website. Instead, I'll tell you about the things that they don't mention there, or those that are a bit more subjective. And I'm going to do that while I work on a chibi commission for Yumemin. So let's start with one of my favorite key aspects, which is the Initial Activation Force, or IAF for short. I am so impressed by this tablet's IAF. I'd say it's the same as Wacom, so it's probably around 1 gram. You can start drawing a line barely pressing the pen against the screen. The only other brand I've seen getting this close to Wacom standards was Huion with their most recent models. I think this one from Gaomon has an even better IAF than the last Huions I've tried. It's a very subtle difference, but it makes the drawing experience much more enjoyable for me in that sense. It also pairs up pretty well with the so many levels of pressure it has, even though I had to edit it a bit as the default values were a bit too hard for my taste. I'm a very light sketcher. The parallax, however, it's barely noticeable for the most part, but if you tilt the pen in many different angles as you draw, it starts to show up and it becomes a bit annoying. I tried calibrating the monitor many times, but there was no way to get the parallax to disappear completely with the way I move my hand around the canvas. If you tend to hold the pen in the same angle all the time as you draw, whether it is super vertical or very tilt, I don't think this will be a problem for you though. Colors and brightness felt great straight out of the box. I didn't feel the need to adjust them. They're also super vibrant and so pretty to look at. I don't have a color calibrator, so I can't say for sure that the display offers the range they advertise, but they definitely look nice. The texture of the surface feels nice too. It doesn't have a very noticeable texture. It's not really like paper, but it's not slippery glass either, so it's comfortable enough to draw. The size of the monitor is also quite good. I didn't notice a big difference compared to the Cintiq 13 HD I usually use. Perhaps the name of all the menus and options might look a bit tiny or unclear if you have very bad eyesight, but otherwise I'd say it's a pretty decent size to draw comfortably. It's not that different from an iPad if you think about it. It's also super lightweight, which makes it easy to carry around if you need to use it somewhere other than your room. However, all the wires it requires to be powered up don't make it a very portable device in my opinion. It's a bit of a pain having to connect and disconnect everything if you're going to have short drawing sessions in different places. Drivers were a bit troublesome at first. I had to reinstall them a couple of times for them to work properly. Other than that, I've had no other issues with them. They're simple but functional. The Gaomon PD1220 doesn't get hot, by the way. Slightly warm perhaps after a lot of use, but not hot at all, so I can say it's summer friendly. The stand it comes with, I see it more as a cover or case, honestly. It's sturdy enough for drawing, sure, but it only offers one angle, and a very low one. I don't really recommend anyone to use it as a stand on a table. A laptop stand where you can change the angle and the height is a lot better for your health. Now let's talk about the price. The Gaomon PD1220 is currently selling for about 260 euros on Amazon. Its closest Wacom competitor in terms of size and overall features is the Wacom One, the first generation, which is usually selling for around 200, 400 euros, depending on the store and sale they have at the moment. Now, I haven't tried the Wacom one, but I have been a Wacom user for more than a decade, and I think it's safe to assume that their new models are not worse than the old models I have already tried. So, in my opinion, if you can find a nice deal for the Wacom One, go for the Wacom. The Wacom One and the Gaomon PD1220 share many similarities. The size, the resolution, the need for cables, the lack of buttons on the monitor or an eraser on the back of the pen, the super low IAF. However, the parallax should be easier to work with on the Wacom than it is on the Gaomon. And I'm saying it should be because I can only assume things based on how my old Wacom Cintiq performs, which is great, by the way. I've never encountered the parallax becoming a problem when I constantly tilt the pen at different angles on my Cintiq. However, if you don't have access to Wacom products, or you just don't want to buy from Wacom for whatever reasons, or you have very limited budget, I think the Gaomon PD1220 is a nice purchase. It's cheap, small, and it works nice. It can be a great choice if this would be your first pen display, for example, or if you're in need of a quick replacement for your current one. Just be aware of the parallax issue if you're like me and you change the angle of the pen all the time as you draw, because it might be a problem that you will need to get used to. And that was everything for today. I really hope you find this review useful and that it can help you decide if this pen display is the right one for you or not. Thank you all so much for watching and see you on the next video.